is called to order with all members present. I will be doing the invocation today, and we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Gregory Fallon, our city treasurer. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, Lord, Creator, we ask you your blessings and your guidance in today's meeting. We pray for all those involved, those who are could be affected today, and the future of the city and the right decisions are at stake. So we ask for your guidance to do the right thing, not only today, but in all the days of our elected tenure as council members. And we trust that we will be making the best decisions today. Amen. City Treasurer?
Everyone, please stand up and face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Valentine has a presentation on the agenda, the long-term consequences of COVID-19 by Dr. Albert Rizzo. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Mary Strin, welcome, Ms. Strin. Ms. Mary Strin will introduce Dr. Rizzo.
Thank you. Yes, it's a pleasure to introduce Dr. Rizzo. He is the Chief Medical Officer for the American Lung Association and is its senior medical authority. He has been involved in research. He has, let me start the video. He has been involved in research as well as providing grants. He is a board certified doctor in internal medicine, a graduate of Georgetown University Hospital in Washington, D.C., been a volunteer with the American Lung Association since 1984. He's here to talk about COVID and long-term impacts. Dr. Rizzo?
Thank you, Marion. Thank you for inviting me to be here tonight. Let me see if I can share my screen. We practiced this earlier, so hopefully it'll go smoothly. I believe you're all seeing my screen?
Yes.
Great, great. So again, thank you. And the identification of the novel coronavirus back in December of 2019 led to a growing and continually evolving body of knowledge about the virus and the disease. We're better at handling the acute respiratory illness that led to mechanical ventilation in so many. We've learned how to use antivirals such as remdesivir and anti-inflammatory drugs like steroids to help prevent the lethal complications in so many. We're also using monoclonal antibodies that help prevent worsening disease and prevent hospitalization in many of the mildly affected. But in peer-reviewed literature and public discussion, persistent symptoms are being reported among COVID-19 survivors, including individuals who initially had a mild acute illness. These persistent symptoms pose new challenges to patients, healthcare providers, and the public health practitioners. The natural history of SARS-CoV-2 infection and COVID-19 is a current area of investigation, and the prevalence, type, duration, and severity of persistent symptoms following the resolution of the acute symptoms and what risk factors there are associated with the development of the disease that we're studying now. Some 12 months into the pandemic, COVID-19 is still revealing itself as a protean, comprehensive, and persistent. And now there's a new category of patients emerging that has colloquially been called COVID-19 long haulers or chronic COVID patients. These patients typically do not need critical care at first, but on social media platforms and in interviews with journalists, they report rolling waves of symptoms. This can include fatigue, hallucinations, something called brain fog, delirium, memory loss, heart rate palpitations, numbness, tingling, and importantly, shortness of breath. Some, and many in fact, have joined social media survivor support groups. So on this slide are the topics I'll touch on briefly just the next few minutes. They include the struggles around defining what a long hauler is, discussing the risk factors that are still not well defined, and also the clinical manifestations, which can be diverse, and also how physicians and patients are adapting to deal with the growing number of afflicted individuals. Now, characterization of the nature of chronic COVID is underway, and many reflect organ damage from the acute infection phase, such as manifestations of ongoing hyperinflation or ongoing viral activity in the host itself that may be the cause of this, or maybe it's an inadequate antibody response. So factors in addition to the acute illness itself that may play a role are the condition of the patient before they were infected. What was their age? What was their premorbid state? What comorbidities did they have? What were the psychological sequelae of suffering from a disease like COVID-19? And what was the relationship between lifestyle issues and what the pandemic was bringing upon them? How did that play a role in the chronic development of these symptoms? So we know now that this multiple syndromes resulting from distinct pathologic processes across the disease spectrum are part of it. But one approach to this is to break the syndrome down into two groups shown on the slide. The one on the left are the initial infection that was very acutely ill, patients were in the intensive care unit, and there's been a condition called post-intensive care syndrome that often leaves many people suffering chronic fatigue and brain fog months, if not longer, after severe illness. Many of these patients have evidence on chest x-rays and abnormal renal function, and there's actual end organ damage manifested in these cases. However, on the left are patients who have less severe disease, but they all end up having chronic symptoms very similar to those with the post-intensive care syndrome. Dr. Fauci has speculated that many in this second group are going to develop a condition similar to what's called chronic fatigue syndrome or myalgic encephalomyelitis, which can be triggered after other infections that we've seen in the past, such mononucleosis and Lyme's disease. There's been a number of studies and surveys trying to determine the characteristics of those who may be at more risk for going on to develop chronic or recurrent post-COVID symptoms. The COVID symptom study was a collaboration between several London hospitals and input from Stanford and Harvard Public Health departments using a self-reported app based on questionnaires to collect data. Patients reported the suffering of severe cases, how severe their cases were, and they found that severe cases were more likely to report long-term symptoms when compared to those with mild infection. But there's a lot more to learn about the impact of the COVID disease in patients with mild cases. And we still haven't studied many of them because they never came to hospitalization or come to the attention of physicians now until later in the course of this chronic disease. What the COVID symptom study did show was that the chronic COVID or long hauler was twice as likely to occur in women as compared to men. And the average age of someone presenting with it was about 4 years older than people who had the mild or acute short COVID. The median age for someone suffering with chronic COVID disease seems to be about 45. But young people can be long haulers as well. One study in the United States found that in addition to adults and those with chronic conditions reporting long-term symptoms, 1 in 5 people aged between 18 and 34 years old who did not have any other chronic medical conditions reported suffering from chronic COVID symptoms. Currently, we can't accurately predict who will become a long hauler. A recent article in the Science Notes, people only mildly affected by COVID-19 can still have lingering symptoms, and people who are severely ill can be back to normal in 2 months or a little bit later. However, continued symptoms are more likely to occur in people over age 50, which we saw earlier, people with more chronic illnesses such as COPD, heart disease, and people who became very ill with COVID-19. Right now, there's no formal definition of the post-COVID long hauler syndrome. The article stated that a reasonable definition would be anyone diagnosed with COVID-19 or had evidence of it with antibodies who did not return to their pre-COVID level of health and function after 6 months. Now, if just 5% of the people who develop COVID-19 develop these lingering symptoms, we will probably double the number of people who have syndromes such as chronic fatigue syndrome in the United States. And we have to remember that these individuals often have symptoms that go on for decades. Only time is going to tell if this proves to be true for the chronic COVID long haulers. As shown in this word cloud on the right and the bar graph on the left, a lot of symptoms are related to chronic COVID disease, but certain ones pop out. There's limited information on the late sequelae that symptoms are reported by patients, but the most common ones include fatigue, dyspnea or shortness of breath, cough, joint pains, and chest pain. Other reported symptoms can include the brain fog that I mentioned or cognitive impairment, depression, myalgia, headache, fever, and tachycardia or palpitations. And we know that COVID-19 has shined a light on disparities that are present in our society. These disparities have an impact on nearly every aspect of the crisis, from health outcomes, to access to resources and care, to exposure through employment, to how information is received, and crucially, may influence the reception of vaccines for COVID-19. Compounding the heightened risk of exposure, lack of insurance coverage, and subsequent cost concerns could stop individuals from seeking medical care for COVID-19, not only the acute symptoms, but the chronic symptoms. There was a report published by Avalere Health that concluded that at least 5 million Black and Hispanic individuals may ultimately lose their health insurance in 2020 as a result of the pandemic. The percentage loss of health insurance coverage among this population, including losses incurred by the Asian populations, is approximately double that of the white individuals. Prior to the pandemic, Black and Hispanic individuals were more often covered by Medicaid or lacked insurance altogether compared with white individuals. While a greater number of white people lost their employer coverage from February to April of 2020, Black and Hispanic people faced a disproportionately larger loss of coverage relative to their populations, reported by the findings in this report. Now, there are studies in place to learn more about this chronic condition. The LINK study is a group of volunteers who were previously infected with SARS-CoV-2, but have recovered from the acute infection. This study is designed to provide a specimen bank of samples with carefully characterized clinical data and specimens that will be used to examine multiple questions involving the virology, immunology, and host factors involved with COVID-19. We'll focus on understanding the variability in the long-term immune responses between individuals. The objective of the NIH study is to learn about any long-term medical problems that people who have recovered from COVID-19 might have, and whether they develop an immune response to SARS-CoV-2 that provides protection against reinfection. Now, despite the aggressive development of acute therapeutic interventions, which improved mortality rates, the care and treatment of the growing cohort of individuals dealing with persistent symptoms remains woefully inadequate. Clinics are springing up around the country for what some are calling a potential second pandemic of long or chronic COVID long haulers. The URL on this slide is a brief video segment that discusses the topic. I believe this was presented by CNN. From Washington State to Florida, from California to Massachusetts, facilities are opening up to the growing number of Americans who are suffering from COVID-19 symptoms many months after the diagnosis. These centers are bringing together multidisciplinary teams to provide a comprehensive and coordinated treatment approach to long haulers of COVID-19 recovery. Long-term COVID-19 care has been launched in settings ranging from big research hospitals like New York's Mount Sinai, which has over 1,600 patients, and also includes St. John's Well Child and Family Center, a network of community clinics here in South Los Angeles. Rather than focusing on specialty patients who still feel sick, St. John's aims to schedule a physical exam, a behavioral health visit, and a monthly follow-up with everyone who tests positive at one of their clinics. The CDC is also continuing to investigate the full spectrum of COVID-19 to help establish a more complete understanding of the natural history of the infection and how COVID-19 related illnesses will evolve in the years ahead. There's a rich history of support groups in this country in fighting diseases, especially at early stages of public health crises when patients face stigmas and medicine is still playing catch up. The fact that the SARS-CoV-2 virus is completely novel means that governments, scientists, and medical officials were caught off guard, are still scrambling to understand the complex disease process. Today's support groups are attempting to meet the needs of people living with this long-term syndrome. There are groups such as Survivor Corps, Long Haul COVID Fighters, COVID-19 Support Group, and there's another group called Body Politic that consists of people from all over the world online who test positive and share their experience. So in closing, just wanted to sum up with what the American Lung Association is doing around the issue of the COVID pandemic. The main tools of promoting the ALA's mission of promoting lung health and preventing lung disease have been research, education, and advocacy. We know we're more effective when we collaborate with like-minded organizations. Participating in informal briefings like this one, having educational webinars, along with many other initiatives broadly described on the slide, are all part of the COVID-19 Action Initiative, which is a $25 million investment to address the COVID-19 pandemic and protect against future respiratory pandemics. The initiative will work with public and private entities to increase research collaboration, detection tests, and treatment therapies. Specific to long haulers, we had a town hall with expert panel Q&A sessions back in November to help discuss this important evolving topic. So I want to thank you for your attention. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Are there any
Through the chair.
Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rizzo. This was very informative. I have a lot of questions, but what I think I'll just limit it to one or two because I know there's a time limit here.
Sure.
But if you suspect that you might be a long hauler, what is the best way to get a diagnosis? And are doctors qualified to give you that diagnosis?
Very good question. The reason I brought up support groups is that the stigma around diseases like this that have no specific blood test, no specific x-ray that diagnoses it, means that physicians have to start buying into the fact that these are people who have an impairment. And that's why all these long-term studies are going to be very important. The best thing is to have the discussion with your healthcare provider. Hopefully more and more healthcare providers are realizing that this is a real symptom and that these people may have long-term impairment. They may have to stay off work longer than normal. Much of this will fall into areas of disability for many people with employment. So I guess it's the best thing to do is have that discussion with your physician and be realistic about the fact that this may linger and it's not going to get better in a couple of weeks in many individuals. The unfortunate problem is some people get better and then after several weeks of feeling fine, it recurs. So it's a very different process that occurs from individual to individual, but talking to your doctor is the best thing to do right now.
Thank you.
Any questions from anybody else?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Rizzo. Quick question. What is your opinion about the news on this Johnson & Johnson vaccine about the blood clot in the women?
Yeah, I mean, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is probably still very effective. I think what we have to realize when we see enough side effects that especially can be life-threatening because of blood clots, we have to step back a bit and look at the data a little more clearly. Are the people who develop these side effects, is there something about them that is a signal that we should be able to warn other individuals to not use this vaccine? So I think the step was taken wisely to reassess the information, not to say it's not going to be used again, but we have to figure out why is this happening and are there precautions that certain people can take. It is a setback because a lot of people I know have been waiting for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Some got vaccinated over the weekend and I think they're still going to do fine. We just have to be cautious about going forward and wait for some more data to be looked at.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
To the chair.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
Thank you. Doctor, I have a question with regards to the long hauler. I'm familiar with that because I was just diagnosed Friday as a long hauler.
Okay.
And it is true, physicians can diagnose you and they do place that in your file. But having said that, I was also told that you'd have to wait for like the vaccine, which I think I'm able to do that now. But what's your thoughts on folks saying that the vaccine actually provides you relief?
There's been a number of reports of that. Like a lot of things with COVID and certainly with the COVID long haulers, there's just not a lot of data and enough individuals where we can put together a process and say, all right, this individual got the COVID vaccine and their long hauler symptoms got better. Right now, there are anecdotes of that. And certainly individuals who had COVID-19 certainly can get vaccinated and it may help their symptoms, but there's no hard and fast rule that you should get vaccinated to prevent COVID long haulers. That's not known yet. We still don't know if we can prevent it. And we don't know if everybody who has long hauler syndrome gets better once they get vaccinated. Again, it's something else that's being studied in all these other research venues.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
presentation. Thank you
welcome.
for being here, joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye
you.
now.
Councilmember Montero has a presentation on the agenda, the retirement of Phil Cocos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, but at this time, I'm going to table the presentation till the April 27th meeting because
Okay.
Lucas was not available, okay?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, please read the guidelines for oral communications.
Okay. During oral communications, speakers shall have 3 minutes to state their business. The Brown Act prohibits the City Council from providing a detailed response or acting upon any items not contained on the agenda. The governing bodies as a body shall have the discretion at the close of oral communications to refer your remarks to the city manager for study, investigation, report, and/or recommendation. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3, all remarks shall be addressed to the City Council as a body and not to any individual council member.
Do you have any communications?
Yes, we do. We have 3 tonight.
Go ahead.
Okay. First, we have Matt Zaro. Mr. Zaro? Mr. Zaro, are you there? Okay. Go ahead, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Zaro. I'm a resident of Hawthorne. I'm calling in today to talk about the issues of people living on our streets, and I just want to comment on sort of what the staff is recommending. First, I want to say, even though it doesn't come to a surprise to me that the staff is recommending the bribe landlord option for housing people, I think it's a really big mistake. I think that we should be moving away from this profit-based model. It's not working. It's what got us into this crisis, right? We should not be trying to house people because it's profitable. We should be housing people because it's their right to be housed. Human beings have a right to shelter. It's one of their basic needs to survive. And we live in a country that should easily be able to ensure this is happening. We should not be housing people because it's profitable. We should be housing people because it's their right. We should be moving towards public housing, community-owned housing. That's why I and others have been calling into this council, asking you to use eminent domain to turn Hawthorne Mall into housing, public housing, controlled, run by the community, for the community. I want to say that, you know, Mayor Vargas was actually right about something, right? They've been giving us the runaround on the Hawthorne Mall for decades, okay? This isn't the first time they've been proposing something. Stop taking the bait, ignore those people, focus on eminent domain, focus on public housing. The thing that really did shock me, really shocking and disturbing about the recommendations the staff letter is going to present tonight. They're saying it's going to take 6 to 8 months to get any safe parking done in the city. They have been talking about this for a year. When I came and I started talking about these issues, you guys were saying, "Oh, we've been planning safe parking. You've been doing that for a year." Alex probably knows because he goes to a meeting every 2 months about it. But the fact that it's going to take another 6 to 8 months to get anything tangible done in our city in the middle of this crisis, it's absurd. It'd be like saying, "Oh, we'll get vaccines in 6 months, or we'll get COVID tests in 6 months." This is a crisis. We need to be acting now, not 6 months from now. It's absurd. This is not a new model. This can be done in a matter of weeks, not a matter of months, if you just made it a priority. So I'm asking the council tonight to demand that their staff come up with a plan that works better than 6 to 8 months for starting to actually do something to help the people in our city who are suffering on the streets, because the basic human right of shelter is not being given to them. Thank you for my time. Good night.
Thank you, Mrs. Zaro.
Next person, please.
Next, we have Ruben Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Yes, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Hi.
Hi, this is Ruben Sanchez. I'm the president of the North Hawthorne Community Association. I'm calling because I read a bit on regards to what you have on the agenda when it comes to the city manager and the city attorney. It's a really big concern for us because I know what the city manager, we have communication with him. He's been working very well with the community. I don't understand what's going on, what's the outcome. I don't know the behind the scenes with the situation. But he's been doing very well. He wanted to make sure also that if you do decide in regards to removal, I'm hoping that we don't start bringing back old city managers because you have to remember that the old city manager was the one who recommended Eric, the city manager that we have right now. And that will be very contradictory if you do, because right now, as we can see, the city of Hawthorne is moving forward, and we need new eyes like Eric, new outlooks like Eric's have been doing for the past year or so. I know he's done a lot of well for at least for North Hawthorne and moving things forward. And like I said, we can't start walking backwards and start bringing in old city managers. If there is that possibility of Eric being removed, which we hope he doesn't, but if that happens, I hope he can stay around at least to the process of bringing in a new city manager, which will be fit to move the city forward, just like Eric was doing. Once again, I don't understand what's going on. One thing I do know about politics, that nothing happens by coincidence. And we will be paying very close eye to what's going on right here with this new city manager and what's happening. With the city attorney, well, Russell's a great guy, but he's been there a long time. And like I said, we need to move forward. We need new ideas. We need people to think of goals and follow up. We need to start working on ordinances, municipal codes, and regards of these, as for these empty vacant lots, to remove all this monstrosities that we have, like the Hawthorne Mall and the RFK and the other vacant lots that belong to car dealership owners. We have to start working for a better Hawthorne, and we're here for that. And once again, hope that Eric you can take consideration Eric and what he has been doing for the past year, and it's a positive, at least in our perspective and what we worked with him. Very communicating with the community, at least with us, and we've never had that experience with other past city managers. So please do not walk backwards, and whoever's voting on this, take that into consideration. No old city managers back in that seat. Okay? God bless, and God bless the city of Hawthorne. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Next person, please.
Okay. Next, we have Rich. Rich, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Rich, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
His last name, please.
Rich, would you like to share your last name with the council?
Sure, Martinez.
Martinez.
Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Everybody there?
Yes.
Good. I'd just like to wish Alex and Angie a happy anniversary. It was 11 years ago this week on April 15th in 2010 when these newly elected city council members embarked on a coup against the old regime. You guys remember that? Together, you were able to work together from within and oust city manager Jack Patharana for his role in the Wild Goose, just like you're trying to oust today's city manager. As you may recall, both of you asked for outside help in accomplishing
Sir,
your coup.
please address the entire body.
Well, everybody involved there was involved at City Hall. So I'm reporting on the corruption within City Hall, and it's all back again. There are several secret meetings that everybody was involved in. Everybody knows that. But you guys put the DA's office under the wrong people. I think there were several secret meetings with Armand Bay. So we should look into that. But yet you guys are still having meetings with the Charles Company. I don't need all 3 minutes. I think they've heard enough. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. That's the end of public comments.
Okay, so there's anybody else who wishes to address the body? Is that it?
That is all.
If no objections, I'll declare oral communications closed. So ordered. Mr. Clerk, can we have your consent calendar, please?
Yes, you may, Mr. Mayor. I have 3 items on my consent calendar for your approval. Item 7, approval of waiver of full readings of resolutions and ordinances on tonight's agenda. Item 8, city treasurer requests approval of the warrants. Item 11, resolution number 8268, a resolution of the city council of the city of Hawthorne, California, amending resolution number 7653 to extend term limits to all city commissions of the city of Hawthorne and provide procedures and furtherance of enforcing term limits and increasing participation in city commissions by other residents of the city for adoption.
I make the motion.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Reyes English,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Valentine,
Your vote, your microphone, please, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Public hearing item number 13, please.
Now is the time and place for a public hearing for the Housing Authority's Housing Choice Voucher Program 2021 to 2022 annual plan. The Housing Department's declaration of publication filed, no written communications were received. Recommendation motion. Staff recommends that the city council, 1, conduct the public hearing and receive comments on the draft of 2021 through 2022 annual plan. 2, adopt the 2021-2022 annual plan. 3, close the public hearing and direct staff to file the required annual plan with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development on or before the due date of April 15th, 2021.
Is there any communications?
No, there was not.
So I'll declare oral communications closed on this item.
Mayor, to the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have one question with regards to the number of vouchers. Is the housing department available?
Yes, this is Kimberly Mack, Housing and CBG Programs Manager.
Question. Are we gonna, is there any way we could increase our allocation? I noticed it was 711. How does that work when we're given an allocation? And this is annual, right?
Correct. Yeah, when we're given an allocation, we have to balance the housing assistance payments with the amount of people that we are assisting. So we either max out the dollars or we max out the voucher assistance. Right now, we have 711 vouchers, but we've maxed out the funding for that. So we have to incrementally increase the number of participants that we can assist.
So, you know, I often hear the list, right? Folks waiting for housing and they've got Section 8 vouchers. Sometimes the list, like the city of Los Angeles, it's 20 years. So for the city of Hawthorne, what's the wait time? Because there's still folks that have vouchers that they're waiting on housing. I'm just curious.
That is correct. That is correct. The last waiting list that was open for the city of Hawthorne was in 2017, and we're still pulling off that list right now. So the wait will be a little while, like 2 years, depending on the funding that we get. If HUD decides to give us more funding, then we can house more people. But as it stands right now, because of the cost of rent increases and other things like that, we have to make sure that we don't overspend in our HAP portion.
How can the council help in securing additional vouchers?
Well, we would need more money from HUD, not additional vouchers. We have vouchers. We have 711 vouchers, and we currently have about 512 leased up. Again, it's a money issue, and it comes directly from HUD. So the council can't really assist with that unless you write a letter to HUD requesting that they provide us with more funding. It's an issue that all public housing agencies have with balancing that.
City attorney, city manager, do you know of history that have we tried to send a letter to HUD asking for additional dollars for housing, especially Section 8 low income?
To the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm not aware of that in my tenure with the city. The city attorney might have some insight prior to my arrival.
And no, I'm not familiar with us ever asking for HUD for funding for that.
Can we possibly look into a letter to its urban housing secretary and seeing how maybe we could start a conversation asking for dollars for Section 8? Or should we ask our legislator? How does that work?
What we can do, Kimberly, is can we ask Rudy Munoz over at LDM? Would he know the answer? Or maybe we can ask our other HUD consultant?
We can ask Rudy Rodriguez, a HUD consultant. The thing is, it's a formula that's given based on the amount of assistance that's provided over the course of an annual basis. You can't simply just write a letter and say, we request more funding so that we can lease up our vouchers, because that's not the way that they, provide the funding for it. You can make mention to it on a legislative level to say that, more money is needed to administer the program and thereby hopefully lease up more units. But the chances are, far and few in between if they're going to provide that additional funding.
So what you're saying is that these requests go unanswered usually.
I'm saying that, yeah, there's a set formula that's used for every housing authority based on how their program is operated, and then use that to determine each funding award every year. And the more you lease up, the more administrative fee you receive. However, there's a balancing act. You can't just say I have 711 vouchers, and so I'm going to lease up, 711 families, because you have to make sure you have the money to fund those families. And so you have to take it by, appreciation, how many deaths there are, how many people are tripped from the program, and try to pull off the waiting list as those vouchers become available while balancing the funding that you still have. Otherwise, you'll find yourself in a shortfall, having to pay, money back to HUD for non-compliance, and then still stuck with a program that you can't run.
Okay. Can you get some information from our outside counsel on that, consultant?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
A question to Kimberly. It was my understanding that the act that was passed for after Biden took office, they were going to put about $25 billion into Section 8 vouchers. Do we know where that money stand right now? Are they trying to distribute it by all the housing departments in the United States? How are they going to do that?
The latest that I've heard, they're offering, 5 different options to apply for funding, such as for unforeseen circumstances or extraordinary circumstances for high portability rates. There's several awards like that, but you have to apply for them and your numbers have to qualify for them. I've already met with our HUD rep and we're at the perfect balancing mark where we unfortunately don't apply for any of them. They do offer the funding, but you have to apply for it. And it's not just given like it was in the first and second round where they gave us a set amount for HAP and then another set amount for the administrative fee portion of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I make the motion.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
All right, Councilmember Montero.
The second goes to who? Who'll take it, Montero or Valentine?
I'll take it.
Okay.
All right, Councilmember Montero.
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson.
Yes.
Councilmember Reyes English.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Valentine.
Yes.
And Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
So that was, so ordinance item number 15, please.
Okay. Ordinance number 2210, second reading. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, amending Chapter 3.20, Purchasing System and Contracts for Public Projects of Title III, Revenue and Finance of the Hawthorne Municipal Code for adoption.
I move.
Well, second, I have some questions though.
Go ahead.
I would just like to ask about the purchasing system. By the way, congratulations on the purchasing system. It looks very efficient. And I'm just wondering could you possibly walk us through how this would work if someone's trying to make a purchase in one of the purchasing departments, a purchase request for supplies, for example? How does that work exactly? Could you walk us through it?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Actually, our finance director, Felice Lopez, is on and she can answer that.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and Mayor Pro Tem Valentine. The purchasing process is that the department will submit a request. They will enter the purchase order request or invoice request into the system. It will move into, so that would be a clerk entering it. Then the department head would approve that purchase. And from there, once that's approved, it will go into the purchasing assistant line so that he can approve. He reviews all of the backup documentation, make sure that everything is in place. Then it moves into the finance department. I review it once again, make sure that we have all of the backup documentation. If it is at a certain level that is above what I can approve, then it moves on to the city manager. He then approves it. If it requires city council approval, which is anything above $25,000, then it would have to have an attachment of a city council approved agenda item having the approval from council.
Okay. And let's see if I had anything else on that. Oh, you had an item on cooperative purchasing with other municipalities to purchase goods and services is an acceptable practice that allows municipal agencies to piggyback on contracts for services and supplies issued by a wide range of other governmental agencies. What does that mean?
That is mainly used by our RT department in purchasing a large quantity of laptops. They will piggyback, as it's called, with another agency so that we can get the lowest possible pricing on those laptops or other, equipment that the city requires. Otherwise, we would just get an individual quote, which would be much higher.
Okay. All right, thank you.
To the chair.
Yes.
So Felice, I'm reading the back of the, I'm reading 3 of 3, and it speaks to the informal bidding and how it's allowed. And it speaks to like a larger number, like 200,000. So reading through this, it basically says that if there's anything, say project less than 60,000, and then it moves on to the city manager and provides notice to potential project, a reasonable number of potential bidders. Now, aren't we going away from his initial 25,000 allowance?
I believe, Councilmember English, that you're on the section regarding public works contracts.
Okay.
And there was a recent change in the law. In fact, this was the whole genesis of this particular ordinance about 2 or 3 years ago, when there was a change in the law for public works contracts, wherein municipalities did not have to go through this this whole RFP process, which was very onerous. And they said that if the project is less than 200,000, then for a public works contract, we can use that much more informal process, and even very, very informal if the public works project is less than 60,000. So those two numbers don't apply to general purchases, by the city. It only refers to the public contract purchases.
Okay, but it is item 15, right? We're talking about item 15.
Yes.
Okay, so I was just reading the page 3 on the back. So my question is, so this whole new system is gonna not even bring anything back to the council for approval?
The chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so the purpose of this amendment that we're proposing is really to provide clarity to the city's existing purchasing policy. So really not advocating or recommending any type of change in purchasing authority or limits, really just trying to make it very clear what's done at the department head level, what's done at the finance department level, what's done at the city manager level, and then what needs to go to the city council. And so there's a number of clarifications we're making, and there's some aspects of the purchasing ordinance that the existing ordinance that are not addressed, and we're trying to just make sure we shore up some of those gaps. Absolutely, anything over 25,000 will be coming to the city council. It's really no change in that regard at all.
Will anything be sitting idle, waiting for a response from a department head or other to check off on that? I heard the process, but is there going to be anything that's sitting idle, waiting for somebody to check off before the next step? The reason I say that is because if the next person in that department isn't trained on this, we could have things pending for a period of time. Just an example, COVID, everybody's at home right now, and say there's things pending, right? So I want to know what's going to help resolve those potential conflicts.
So as it relates to our computer system, there are humans that are operating it. So if the person who's responsible for approving something is out for some reason, they need to be forwarding their workflow to a subordinate or someone with equivalent authority. And so that's an issue we would have whether we had an electronic system or a paper system. And we just need to make sure we have the right care and feeding on those processes to make sure that bottleneck doesn't occur.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to get like when this is put in place, I'd like to get to see it myself and how it works.
We'd be happy to show you our new finance system. Our finance department and human resources department have labored for a long time getting it to where we're at now, and we're very proud of it.
Okay, great.
Okay. Roll call vote.
All right. Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Reyes English,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Valentine,
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Item 16.
Ordinance number 2218, second reading, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, adding chapter 2.64 campaign contributions to Title II of the Hawthorne Municipal Code for the purpose of limiting contributions for campaigns for a municipal office for adoption.
I move.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Reyes English,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Valentine,
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Item 17.
Ordinance number 2219, second reading, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, adding chapter 5.55 Farmers Market to Division 2 of Title 5 of the Hawthorne Municipal Code for the purpose of providing an alternative method of licensing for farmers markets for adoption.
Roll call vote. Okay, I second it.
Okay.
Montero first, Vargas second.
Okay. Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Reyes English,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Valentine,
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The
Yes.
vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Item 18, please.
Ordinance number 2220, first reading. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, amending section 9.39-150 Farmers Market of chapter 9.39 Community Events Permits, a division for offenses against the public peace of Title IX Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare of the Hawthorne Municipal Code related to the definition of an application requirements for farmers markets for introduction.
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Montero had an interlineation that he requested with regard to 9.39.150 under definition. Farmer market means a community event operated by an entity with at least 3 years experience in event planning and or conducting farmers markets approved by the city manager. Instead, we deleted the part about being approved by the California Federation of Certified Farmers Markets.
Is there concurrence with that interdelineation by the rest of the city council?
City Attorney, Mayor to the Chair.
Well, yeah, but let me ask, you'll ask that, but anybody else, does anybody else concur with that change?
That's the question I have.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the question. City
Oh,
Attorney.
sure.
So when you mentioned the municipal code change, you're saying that the person that's going to be managing or manages a farmer's market has to be community event coordinator of 3 years or more?
Yes, Councilmember Montero, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, because when you look at definition, by the California Federation of Certified Farmer, it's just another bureaucracy that would hint the farmers market to come to Hawthorne. So what I try to do is to make sure that the person that's going to be the administrator of the farmers market have some type of event planning and event entertainments, so those kind of things.
So,
Okay.
so that person, the selection of that person would require some types of events, even though it's not a farmer's market event? You know, if, say, for instance, I have a party planner and they do baby shower stuff,
No,
does that qualify them to do farmer's market stuff?
no, that's not the kind. That's not the kind, because what I think what is missing there, like event planning and entertainment planning, whatever. And because, for example, the people that's going to be doing this farmer market, they have food experience, culinary art experience.
Sure.
So they know what they do. So, but we try to make it a little simple.
Okay.
Because remember that the event planners, then they would have to show that they have done some type of that work, right?
Yeah, well, the farmer's market that we have at our office, when it's Easter, they bring a bunny and they bring, you know, pumpkins and bunnies, whatever. Halloween, Christmas, the same thing. So it is like event planning, but the persons are certified in like organic, you know, fruits, vegetables. They have, you know, art sometimes. So I was just curious where.
Well, that I think is coming after for the vendors that's going to come, you know, have to have products that you maybe is organic, that is, you know, so they will have those certifications.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to understand what community plant events mean. Like, okay. All right, thank you.
So real quick, item 18 is supposed to, it's a first reading.
It's the introduction.
Yes, just the quality. Yeah, okay. Everybody understood that, even though it says move and it doesn't have anything on your script. This is for introduction. So Councilmember Montero, would you like to introduce?
I'll introduce Ordinance 2022.
Okay.
2220, yeah.
Do you have that on record, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 19, please.
Ordinance number 2222, first reading, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, amending Chapter 2.17 Youth Commission, Chapter 2.20 Senior Citizens Commission, and Chapter 2.22 Parks, Recreation, and Fine Arts Commission of Title II Administration, Civil Service, and Personnel of the Hawthorne Municipal Code to make consistent and update the provisions of each chapter and to make other non-substantive changes in furtherance of their uniformity for introduction.
I'll introduce it.
Okay, no, this is for introduction as well, correct. So first reading, so it's been introduced. General matters, item number 21, Planning Director Greg Sugiuchi has an oral report. Mr. Planning Director, go ahead. Mr. Planning Director, go ahead. You're muted.
Yes, Mayor and members of the council, the items tonight is a little oral report on the responses we received. So to date, we received 8 responses by the due date, which was Friday, April 9th at 5 p.m. We provide a list of the names. If you'd like me to go over with you, I can do so. At this time, staff is just looking for direction on what steps you would like to take next.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
And I think, part of the context of that question is during previous discussions, at least 1 or 2 members of the council suggested that all proposals and proposers, all firms be interviewed by the city council and want to know if that's the direction that the whole council wants to go, or would you like staff to review the proposals and come back with a recommendation on potentially a shorter list of maybe 2 to 3 consultants for the council to consider, and really just open to where you want to go and didn't want to assume that the council's intent on this.
On my end, I think since this is such a critical item, critical topic, defines the future for the community, I'd like to meet with each of those applicants for proposals. Personally, I'd like to see all of them. That's my 2 cents. Go ahead. Next person.
Through the chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
What I did suggest during the 2 months ago is when we received this proposal for us to schedule a study session meeting, like a special meeting, where all of us is going to go through this proposal like a very transparent, right? So an open meeting, because we don't want nobody to say that, oh, you know this person or your friend, blah, 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 blah. So we want to be transparent. So we want to make sure that we're going to select the best candidate that's going to fit, our objectives on an open meeting. Okay, like that's what I want to call to a special meeting, and then if we want to interview them, then we'll do the interview on that day. Okay.
So basically, we're in agreement. So anybody else? Anybody else? Do we have a third person that would? Is everybody else okay with this?
Yes, I would concur with that.
That's fine. Councilmember English.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd like to see who they are myself.
Okay, thank you. So there's concurrence, Mr. Sujiuchi.
Okay, is there a date that you would prefer to have this special meeting held?
Do we need to schedule that now, guys, or can we just, how quickly do we want to do this?
Mayor, we could wait. I mean, I don't think we need to do it right away. We have these specials that we're already doing with the mall.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. That's really why I'm asking. I think we want to make sure that we're looking at this carefully, and not all consultants are built the same. So we want to make sure that we get the right one and we don't make a mistake here.
And to the chair, I would recommend to the planning director and the city manager that to give us the copies of those proposals. All of us should get the copy of the proposals, and then maybe we can have a special meeting on the last week of April.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
I have hard copies for each of you prepared. Would you also like it electronic, both, or is there a preference? I can provide both.
I would end up printing them if you already have them printed.
I want hard copies.
Okay, yes, the RFP requested that they provide hard copies.
Hard copies.
For this reason.
You'll save us the trouble. You'll save us the trouble of printing them ourselves. We appreciate you.
Okay. The chair and
go ahead, Mr. City Manager.
Councilmember Montero suggested that we have a special meeting the last week of April. Is that what we're aiming for, or do you want to aim for some time beyond April?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I think I see ourselves doing it maybe in the first couple of weeks in May. I don't know. What's the pleasure of the rest of the city council?
Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember English, go ahead.
I'm just curious, what's the plan for the end of April? We're going to interview all 8? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, I would say for us, my thing is when we got together, we can have a short list that if we concur on the short list, then we will interview those on the short list, because even, believe it or not, I would like, before we gave it to anybody contract, I want to do background check. So
how about, I do think that we could just whittle it down to like the top 3 or 4, like he's saying. But do we want to have that specific study session take place at the end of this month or in the first couple of weeks of May is the question.
Okay, let me suggest something, Mr. Mayor. Maybe we'll get the hard copy and then we will go through them. And then maybe on the meeting on the 27th, maybe we can give the short, let's say if we got 3 pick out of the 8, for example, right? So maybe on the 27th meeting, we can report individually what we came up to our short list, and then maybe we'll go like we did with the city manager did with those priority, right? And then we will go from there.
Well, Councilmember,
and we'll call for the special meeting.
Councilmember Montero and the rest of my city council member colleagues, what I see ourselves is not making an independent decision, the 3 of them, but all of us going through all of the 8, discussing them all, and then at the end, because there might be something that one of us might mention that might either turn us off or turn us on to one of these consultants. So if we all discuss all 8 of them and then make our decision at the end of that study session within the regular city council meeting, I think that'll be give us an opportunity to just hear what we have to say about all 8. as long as we make it efficient and we just, I mean, an efficient meeting, we come prepared. And we come prepared to state whatever we know, because some of us has heard of some of these consultants. And some of us might have some information that might.
I haven't heard none of them, so.
Well, I don't know. I don't know who they are. Some of us may
But-
have. I don't say
so-
some of
so-
us have.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest that for us not to put this thing on the back burner, but I would prefer for us to have that special meeting on the last week of.
To do like we
Okay,
should.
because
Okay.
we need to keep moving on this thing. We cannot just put on the back burner.
But I like to see that approach, though. I think it just gives us an
Yeah,
opportunity to talk
okay,
about
so-
each one of them and then make a decision and
So
whittle
let's-
it down to 3.
So
Are you
let's
okay
do
with-
that. Let's do that. I prefer the meeting to be the last week of April.
And then we can have a special or regular for.
Can have a concur.
interviews. So what, Thursday, the 29th? Mr. City Attorney, go ahead and just figure out, help us determine a date.
Yeah, the 28 or 29 is good for me.
Do we want to have afternoon sessions, noon sessions, or
28th is fine for
evening
me.
sessions? Go ahead.
28th is fine for me.
I can't do anything past 5. Well, I actually can't do anything past 4.
So where is Miss Valentine? Miss Valentine sometimes don't have conflicts. Miss Valentine,
The 28th is fine with me.
and what time? 11?
11 would be fine, or later. I'm free the 28th.
Let me check. Let me just double check myself, please.
I'm still confused. So the 27th, you're saying,
Well, we will not do nothing on the 27th.
Oh, okay, okay.
We're not deciding. Councilmember English, what was your question?
I'm trying to figure out, I heard the 27th and then I heard the 28th and the 29th. So I want to just narrow down, what are we doing?
I think we're on the 28th right now.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen at that meeting?
But it looks like we're gonna talk about all of them and then just at the end make up a decision on the 3.
Okay.
And then we're gonna like interview the 3, have a little presentation. We should limit that presentation because we want
minutes.
everybody to have an equal amount of time
Okay.
to present stuff.
10 minutes each.
Okay, that sounds fair. Okay.
We don't want anybody to be given an unfair advantage, et cetera, blah, blah. 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. And then at the end, we just figure out. So what time? 11 o'clock on the 28th?
That's good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to clarify, a special meeting on the 28th at 11 a.m. How much time are you anticipating to spend on all 8 of these? Do you think it's an hour, 2 hours?
Can't
you
just put the
Let's say
start
2 hours.
No.
No,
I think that's going to take 2 hours.
We
It's going to take at least 2 hours if we're going to be
Eight
looking
long
at
weeks.
all of them, right?
Yes. I can't see it taking less than 2 hours.
Honestly, I don't really see it. I concur with Councilmember Patterson. I don't know. Unless you guys
I think we should have a moratorium against long meetings.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I second that. I second that.
We'll go until we finish. So
And then, Mayor, my second question was, and just to be clear, the council will whittle it down to the top 3, and then we'll invite those top 3 to do a very focused presentation according to the council's guidelines at a future meeting, probably in May. Is that correct?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we okay? 11 o'clock, folks, Wednesday, April 28th. I have it on my calendar.
And may I get some clarification? I assume that means that we're going to have their proposals in hand so that we can review them before the first meeting.
Should have that right away, like this week.
We can provide those to you tomorrow in your inboxes tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I'll also provide a copy of the RFP in case you'd like to use the guidelines that we referred to for you to evaluate these proposals, such as we had organizational management experience, experience with public agencies and so forth that you'll be able to take a look at.
Sounds good.
Just a moment. Let me just check this, look at something. All right. I don't have it. I thought I had something on this. All right, guys. So thank you so much, Mr. Planning Director. Okay, item number 22, Housing Manager Kimberly Mack. Kimberly, do you feel you already give your presentation and with the last discussion we had, or would you like to give us additional information? Kimberly.
Well, the council, and I apologize, the Zoom is not allowing me to share my video. However, the council requested a current report on the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. So that's what this agenda bill is describing. So if you'd like to hear it, I'll be happy to report it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so as you know, we initially launched the Emergency Rental Assistance Program back in October 12th of 2020. It has since been extended 2 times due to low participation. Applicants are able to, turn their applications in online through the mail and drop them off. And it's open now until all funds are exhausted. So there's no more closing of the program. As of March 31st, 2021, the city received 279 submissions, so that's applications, and has assisted 47 families and individuals and has paid an amount of $137,295 in rental assistance. So the program continues to offer $1,000 per month or up to $1,000 per month for a maximum of 6 consecutive months. And what I did was add a table on the agenda bill that shows you a breakdown of those applications' current status. We have right now 103 files that are pending documentation. That continues to be one of the items that plagues the program is owner and tenant participation in providing the documentation that has been requested to deem them eligible for assistance. Though we have been very flexible with that part of the program. As far as the advertising goes, we have done some substantial advertising for this program, more than I've seen in any other program at the city so far. And I've listed them. What's new to that list is that we have added a email blast to about 28,000 La Opinion subscribers, geographically targeted to the city of Hawthorne and some surrounding cities to try and spread the word out a little bit more to hopefully bring it back in. And after that email blast went out, we only got an additional 2 applications. So it's been very difficult to promote this program. We've also had, we continue to reach out to our owners. We've sent emails this time directly to the owners, and that was probably our biggest advertising success there, because the owners are sharing this information with their renters who have delinquent rent, and they're actually assisting them with filling out the applications and turning them in. So we continue to work well with our owners. We've also worked with other nonprofit groups, school boards, mental health facilities. We're trying to get it out everywhere in homeless groups, everywhere that needs assistance, so that they know that we're here in the city of Hawthorne to provide that rental assistance. I've also added a table to show how people heard about the program, because I want to know that if all of this advertising is going out there, the dollars that are being spent per person, is it being, is it financially sound? Is it something that I should be doing? And so what I found is that word of mouth has been the biggest success for this program. People hear about the program through friends and family members. The website and city website has been really well. Social media has been well. They hear it through their neighbors. They hear it from city workers who tell them about the program. They get direct mail-ins from owners. Additionally, apartment managers and the electric Becker boards that are the 2 that are over the city. So there's a variety of ways they've been hearing about the program, but the greatest is still word of mouth. The program still faces challenges again in receiving and collecting the documentation. And, right now we're in competition with much larger programs, specifically the state funded programs that offer more money and a different type of assistance, and even offers owners to take a higher percentage of assistance and then waive the rest of the fees that are left. And so it's a little hard to compete with that, but we're still getting the word out there. We still continue to process files with, again, much flexibility as possible. And applicants are making appointments to drop off their paperwork. Some are very responsive. Some will get you what you asked for in 10 minutes, and some will try and give you 10 years if you let them. So we just have to really monitor that and stay true to our deadlines. We also have now a dedicated phone line specifically for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, so that, while the general phone number is still available, there is an option that allows people to receive assistance directly and specifically for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, where they are getting help much quicker. We also have 2 current paid Spanish-speaking staff members in our office. We have 1 Spanish-speaking volunteer, and we have another Spanish-speaking clerk that will be coming on board to address any of our outlining Spanish-speaking concerns, to just sum up the whole of a great customer service package that we're trying to provide in the housing department. So we're making every effort to reach our owners and our tenants, and we're not easily giving up on them or denying them immediately. We are giving them an opportunity to go through this process. So I think that's one of the great things that we're doing. We're just trying to provide the best customer service and to use this funds to assist Hawthorne's residents. I also wanted to share with you all that the housing department received an award of about $295,000 for administrative fee funding. It came with the first round of CARES Act funding, and it can specifically only be used for administrative fees for the Section 8 program. And so what we did was take advantage of the ability to upgrade some of our technical software to where we can try and provide a greater convenience to our Housing Choice Voucher departments, our Housing Choice Voucher program. And one of the programs is known as Assistance Connect. Assistance Connect is a program that allows owners, tenants, and residents to check the status of their files without having to make contact with their assigned housing assistants. They don't have to make as many phone calls. They don't have to come into the office. It's really kind of a self-service program. They can upload their documents online. They can fill out documents online, their annual reviews, applications, interims, specials, things of that nature. And it's really a one-stop shopping. And the great part about this Assistance Connect, it allows owners to go and see when they've been paid, when they're going to get paid. It allows those who are on the Section 8 waiting list to see that they're still active on the waiting list. And it's a hands-on approach. It allows staff to free up time from having to spend so much time with dealing with phone calls. And so we thought this was a really great way to allow owners, tenants, and residents to stay at home in the convenience of their home while still getting the necessary and required work done that's in the program, because the program doesn't stop. And so that was added to our system. And we also wanted to include the fact that we, along with that, added the Integrated Document Imaging Archive System, or IDIA, and that's a scanning system. So right now we have a very small file room, and this system allows us to scan all our documents electronically into the system, even the documents that go through Assistance Connect, married with the IDIA system, and it's automatically uploaded. So anytime anyone wants to get their historical information, it's already there. So we're trying to bring the housing department up technology wise, and just provide the best customer service possible while working smarter, not harder. So that's pretty much what we wanted to report to you all about the programs that we're offering in the housing department right now. And we're always looking for ways to, provide the best service to the Hawthorne residents.
Okay.
To the chair.
Go ahead.
Kimberly, you made mention the rental assistance program. You said until that fund is exhausted. What's the amount we have currently in there?
We have 1 million. We have 1.5.
And you talked about deadline. There isn't a deadline, right?
There is no deadline as of yet, unless the council decides to reallocate the funds due to low usage.
Yeah. There's no deadline as it is right now. There's a balance of 1.5. You said you only did 47 families, individuals, and paid already 137,000. It shows the low participation, but I want to address the assistance program, rental assistance program. Definitely want to see more Spanish bilingual speakers. And there also needs to be, from my opinion and from what I've heard from constituents, direct communication from the department. The thing that you mentioned here earlier about the Section 8 program upgraded the tech software to do everything online, and it doesn't require, speaking to the housing department. All that is great, but I want to assure that those residents that are in the city of Hawthorne that don't have access to computers, don't speak another language other than Spanish or other languages, have still a communication by picking up the phone and actually getting someone in the department. So I'd like to see more than two bilingual Spanish speaking or other, so that we could assure the constituents that we're working to take everyone's calls and to help everyone. And folks have gotten frustrated, and they don't know how to follow through. They don't know what's pending or what the situation is until, say, for instance, they're contacted by the housing department, which could be a month or later, on what's the status of their application. So I still want to see some connection between the housing department and those constituents that applied. And if there's something that's missing, getting to them immediately versus a month or so, because time is of the essence. They're sensitive to the fact that their landlords are getting ready to evict them, and they can't wait another month to hear what the paperwork or the status is. So I'm trying to, in a sense, expedite not just the response, but the status of their application. So that's kind of where I want to make sure that I'm clear with your department on what I'd like to see further.
I'd like to piggyback on what Councilmember Reyes English mentioned. I've received a lot of calls from residents, and one of the things that has been mentioned, and obviously I'll give an opportunity for a response, is that residents have applied and they haven't received any communication from our housing department. We're talking weeks, and in some cases a month or two. And then when they finally do hear from our department, is to tell them, hey, you're missing this or this. And then guess what? They're already at risk of being booted out. And so that slowness in getting communications to them puts that at risk. So this whole emergency, I'm just going to be very frank. Because I'd rather just talk frank right now and get something resolved. And then they end up finding, well, you needed this, and that. Well, then why didn't anybody contact them within a week or two so they could go and move and go ask for that additional paperwork from their manager or from whatever other paperwork that they needed to supply? Why do they have to wait a week or two? Is it on the applicant to follow up with and look for you guys, or is it on our department to let them know, our residents know what they're missing? So, I'll be frank, I'm here to support and find solutions, okay? I just want to clarify that. But at the same time, I have to be critical of our program, and a lot of residents out there are not happy. There's been some denial letters that people have received. A denial after going through a weeks or maybe a couple months process, and then to find out that they're denied. So that doesn't really help the residents, and it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. Is it a manpower issue? And maybe Councilmember Reyes English is onto something there, adding more people. Maybe so. That's cool. I'll take that for an answer, partial answer. But when we need more manpower, when we find this stuff, and when we're getting this, I'd rather have a discussion here with my colleagues to try to make sure that we meet the needs of residents. So I have one question for you, Kimberly. What has been, actually right now, people are trying to message me, letting me know, right now that we're talking about this, that they've been denied. I got two or three people that just contacted me saying that they got denied. So my question to you, Kimberly, what is what are the one or two major reasons for denial? That
There's several major reasons for denial.
okay, no, I'd like to hear that.
So the major reasons for denial is on the online in the program guidelines, it's very clear that what's required at the time the application is submitted.
Okay.
Most of the time the applications come in with blank information and just supplemental forms, maybe an ID or a rent ledger, or they provide me with a lease that's not signed, or they provide say just the tenant's information and the owner's not willing to participate, or they haven't got the owner's documentation to provide that as well, or they're not even COVID-19 related. And so the program is for those that are impacted by COVID-19. So we have to go through all of these. There's a lot of back and forth between owners and tenants, and owners are confused by all the other programs that are out there sending us LA County documents. And we have to say, no, we can't take that. Please send us our forms. So there's an abundance of reasons why there are, processing delays.
Then in all fairness, do you have a record or case files or case folders on all these interactions, what communications back and forth? Or
You're welcome to come see them. The way we're set up in our files is we have a contact log every time we make contact, every time we receive documentation, it's date stamped. Our files are very thorough and audit ready.
no, then that's why I'm bringing it up. I know I came at you a little heavy right here, but it's just I just get so many calls, and and when in all fairness, we have mentioned these things to you at the council meetings. And you've adapted and you've brought on more people. And in all fairness, you have mentioned that the manpower was critical in being able to answer all the different concerns.
Through the chair.
But yeah, I'd just like to make sure that we're on top of that. And I appreciate the fact that you do have everything logged in and filed away. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, let me just say thank you, Kimberly, for the update, and I have to say thank you for listening to my concern and to adopt some of my recommendation, such as a dedicated phone line, and to bring more people on board. Because I met with Kimberly Mack and the city manager Eric Lee about 4 weeks ago to deal with the issues that Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman English have brought, that there was a lot of residents out there saying they were being denied. And believe it or not, I got some of those documents that people would been sending in and compare what they've been giving to Kimberly or not giving to Kimberly. And it seems that Kimberly was doing the right thing.
Okay.
Because of the HUD guidelines, and like she put it very eloquent about all these documents they have to submit. So sometimes some people try to get shortcut, try to send documents that is not appropriate. That's not admissible to the program. So I see that from the time that I met Kimberly and the city manager, they have put a lot of things in place that wasn't there before. So we actually have created now a much better system since then, since 4 weeks ago that I met with them, or even maybe six weeks ago, that they have actually improved the program. Now you have to understand that those of you that have not worked with HUD does not understand that HUD it's a tremendous bureaucracy of paperwork that needs to be done. Because you know me, I have low-income houses, so I have to deal with HUD, I have to deal with the county assessor, all of that. So it's very difficult for sometimes for the clients to give you the documents that you need. So they have to go through this process. That's what sometimes it takes time. But if they submit the right documents, and then they're going to be helped. So I agree that maybe we need more hand powers, but maybe we can ask help through the South Bay Whip One Stop, through the Jen Vogel, because then maybe they can send us more people to help Kimberly with the process. But I think that the fact that we have 279 case files, so it's showing that they're doing the work. Because I met with them, I knew that how the process was going and how people are failed sending the appropriate documents. So we cannot just put the blame on a housing department. because I think they've been doing their jobs correctly. Because I did basically assess the situation and audit them, and I knew they were doing things right.
Well, then I got a question for you then. I got a question for you, Ms. Montero, and for Kimberly, whoever.
And to the chair, Mayor, when you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no, this is a good assessment, like a review of what's going on. So I've always heard that LA County and LA City both administer their own programs, right?
Yeah,
and so
state, county, and
okay.
the city. Yeah.
I'm suspecting that so I've been hearing these comparisons. Oh, our city program is slow and not as efficient in providing the funds, you know, and LA City and LA County are. I mean, do they have is their money HUD delivered?
Yes.
Or is it money that they get and they get to determine what the guidelines are? Because if they are not
well, some of them are HUD money, and some of them are money that put by the Board of Supervisors that it was not HUD money. And then the state also have put some money there that is not just HUD. It's a combination of the two.
So then what I guess my answer and my comment to the residents is that, you know, you can't compare us to LA County because we have our requirements that HUD gives us to be able to satisfy what they need to see.
Yeah,
or else
very strict.
Yeah, so that's not our fault, and so that's good that you guys were able to answer that. So don't compare, it's apples and oranges. Yeah, we can't compare us to LA County, because they're probably giving away just like crazy, or they don't even know. And you know what? People who might not be needing this are getting it, and that's not fair either. Okay.
Right.
So we're making sure that people who do need this stuff is getting it, but at the same time, I'd like to see it a little bit more efficient.
And
So
we are here to help. We're here to help. That's why we put the money in there. So we're here to help.
Thank you, Kimberly. Go ahead.
City Attorney, excuse me, Mayor, thank you. So I don't think it's so much, you know, a blame game between the mayor and myself. I think what we're trying to say is we want to assure that the community is being contacted, especially those that have not heard back from the department. That's it in a nutshell. And then moreover, I haven't reviewed anything as far as files, etc. So Kimberly, I'll take that invitation and come and visit your department. And the other thing is, I do believe we need to hire a stronger workforce that's bilingual in nature so that there is effective communication. Again, there are individuals that are applying that are not computer literate. There's some that don't read or write. They're doing their best. And if they're sending in just minimal information, it's because they don't know. Some of these individuals need to have either handheld basically to do it. How do I know this? Because I do the same thing in Los Angeles. That's what I do. I help constituents in Los Angeles. Unlike Los Angeles, there's 10 to 11 million people. Here in the city of Hawthorne, it's probably 80, 85, 86,000 people. But having said that, I just know that we can, and I'm sure everybody could agree, we could work better to assure that our systems are in place to help everybody, especially those that are complaining. That's it.
Okay.
But thank you very much, Kimberly, for your work and the information that you provided.
My pleasure. And I'm also used to holding hands. I work with the Section 8 program for over 15 years now. The Section 8 program is even more stricter than our rental assistance program is. So we're aware of not just cutting people off, even though our program guideline says 10 days to get us missing information. We are definitely being gentle with our residents.
That's good to
But
hear.
thank you, and I'll take note of everything you've all mentioned. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. City Manager, your consent calendar, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I have items 24 through 30 on my consent calendar for your approval.
I make a motion.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Reyes English,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Valentine,
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Okay, I like this first discussion item, actually, Councilwoman Reyes English. Moratorium on car washes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. But before that, I just had one question. When you construct speed humps, how are speed humps requested? City Manager, City Attorney, what's the process for requesting speed humps?
So our Public Works Director, Alan Leung, can answer that question. Alan?
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council.
Good evening.
For speed hump request, it can be request through online. We have a form online. They can also send a letter to us, giving us a petition of the block of all the residents signing up for it. And also, we can also accept a letter from the school district if the location is adjacent to the school.
And the petition must be what? How much percent? 60%, 75%?
Has to be 2/3, minimum 2/3 of the neighborhood.
So what is that? 2/3?
2/3, 66.6%.
60% or so. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, your item, moratorium on car washes.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I placed this item out of the abundance of caution due to complaints that I've received, and I'm sure some of the council members have received, in particular of a car wash that is not only disrupted to the community and the residents and where it's at, but moreover, the history in which the complaints have been coming. Everybody's familiar with the one off of Imperial and Inglewood Avenue. It just this past weekend, Saturday, for instance, I took photos with my own camera because I was coming from Los Angeles, and I approached the intersection at Inglewood Avenue and Imperial. There was a green light. Unfortunately, we couldn't get across because all the cars that were in line, either going over the light or turning from the lane going east, turning onto Inglewood Avenue, which is southbound, was clogged with cars, not allowing for anyone to come in and out of their residence, let alone vehicles that are, moving through traffic to get across a parking light, or parking signs and lights, I should say. So I would like to instruct the city manager and those to put a moratorium, temporary moratorium on car washes. We've got right now complaints from constituents. We've got car washes that are budding communities, residential homes. This particular car wash is blasting music. There's some other blighted things that they're doing. But more importantly, I think it's something that the city council needs to collectively coordinate efforts to assure the community that's complaining that we're actually addressing some of their concerns. Having said that, I want to ask for a temporary moratorium and then get a review, either a legal confidential or the planning department, as to either, how many we currently have in the city, if they have any in the pipelines, but more importantly, I think this is important that we halt it and just put a stop right now and make it a temporary moratorium.
Council
Through the chair.
Let me address Councilmember Reyes English. Look, I also I don't like it either. I'm gonna be honest with you. Hearing those complaints, but I don't know. I don't know if, maybe you're asking for legal confidential. Maybe we don't need to talk about the results of the city attorney's research. But I do definitely, I see one immediate problem. Mr. Leon, can you please come online, please? Mr. Leon, are you familiar with the property?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Okay, so when you're driving south on Inglewood Avenue and turning right into that street,
yes,
right before you, the reason I see that cars are in the middle of the street is because we're allowing for parking just south of the car wash property. What I'm suggesting is that you remove the parking capabilities and go red all the way, so that these cars can start, if they are going to line up, that they line up close to the sidewalk and not in the middle of the street, because cars can't go back and forth. And that was a complaint that I got from residents. And that was a suggestion I got from some of the residents there. If we can make that red and disallow parking right there, so they're not forced to be in the middle of the street. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, I understand. Yes.
Can you take a look at that and maybe possibly make that happen, and maybe that'll help alleviate some of the traffic through that street at least?
Yes, with your direction, we will remove the parking in that area.
Can you? And I did receive that also.
Through the chair.
Yeah, no, but I also received that as from the residents and from the owner of the car wash, because he doesn't like hearing the complaints from the residents too, and the residents are complaining about it. So I think that will make everybody happy. Go ahead, Councilmember Montero.
Just about the parking thing. We should restrict the parking, but during the business hours, not at nighttime. Because
Okay,
at
okay,
nighttime,
yeah.
at nighttime, there is a difficult time to park on those streets because
Yes.
you're looking for parking. So Alan, if you can put a restriction there during the business hours, you know, let's say from 8 a.m. to whatever to 8 p.m. or something like that, and then people can park overnight.
Well, it starts at 7.
Something like that.
7 to 8. Maybe restrict no parking allowed during that time, and then after 8.
Because the residents there also have a parking problem at nighttime.
Oh, okay. So
Yes, that is
Thank
true.
you.
are you good with that, Alan?
Yes, we
Okay.
will verify the operating hours and then we will install the parking restriction to match the operating hours.
Yes, thank you.
And
Through the
another
chair.
another thing on the council, I need to finish this because I'm hot on this one. Is
Well,
why
Mayor, just real quick, I mean, it's more than just, you know, the issues and the concerns. We've got other car washes that are,
Coming.
being built right now.
yes, that's what I was going to
And-
talk to you guys. How the heck did those get approved?
On Prairie across Costco.
And they butt alleys and residential homes, apartments, etc. I'm forecasting a cluster, you know what, with all the traffic at Costco, UPS,
How?
all these vehicles, and more importantly, it doesn't bring the city any economic stimulus that either makes us or breaks us. I think we need more businesses that provides a service to families and community, not just, a car wash. I mean, how many do we need in Hawthorne?
I think
Seriously.
I appreciate your comments, Councilman Reyes English. Yeah, there is a tax base, but there is. But my question to our city planning directors, how the heck is something on Prairie going to be approved? Knowing the effects that these car washes have had, like on other locations like Inglewood and Imperial. Why didn't these not require a CUP? I mean, how is this type of stuff considered off the, over the counter? Why didn't we hear about this?
Car washes in the city are required to have a conditional use permit, which means they need to be taken before the city council, the planning commission, and held in a public hearing matter. I have not taken a conditional use permit for a car wash since I've been here. I don't know if this permit was issued earlier and they're just now constructing it.
Okay.
I would have to do some research.
Can you send us a white paper on that? So
Sure.
we know what the background is on that, because I'm really concerned. If our planning commission is just approving these CUPs without really just, all they're looking at is just how aesthetically pleasing these things look at and nothing else, then I don't think they're looking at these things critical enough, to be honest with you.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that we consider, instead of a moratorium, perhaps zoning areas for them so that they wouldn't be zoned in areas where there are residents and where there could be traffic impacts. And this would solve the problem of not losing the revenue, the potential revenue from them, and also put them in areas where they wouldn't do any harm as far as the impacts to the parking and the residents. So my suggestion would be that we rezone areas so that we could have places for them only in certain industrial areas, not near residential areas.
That's a good suggestion. And Greg, Alan Leon and Greg, over there, like if you're gonna remove the parking from 7 to 8, I believe that they should also have a full-time person out there directing traffic, because we need to make sure that they're directing traffic and that they're making sure that they're keeping the the passages open for the residents. I mean, that's the whole point here. So I don't want to see any cars that could be driving up along the side of the street, right in the middle of the street. We need somebody to regulate.
To the chair.
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
I'm not sure about anyone else, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm reaching out to businesses, restaurants, and services that could be provided here in the city of Hawthorne, and car washes aren't one of them. So again, the locations in which I'm helping is throughout the city, including the Imperial Corridor and other surrounding areas. So my push is to bring business, to bring dollars to the city of Hawthorne. Yes, I understand there's a tax base coming through, but we need to do better than that. We need to do better than that. We don't have anything here in the city that keeps people here, the families here, individuals here, to either shop, eat, or otherwise. And this is something that has been an ongoing issue. And to say that car washes is the answer, I don't think so.
Well,
and so it's my hope that all of you as representatives of this city see the bigger picture, especially when it comes to the development in Inglewood, that's going to have an overflow to our hotels and other still things that we need to bring into the city so that we could capture those dollars. We need to do more. We need to do better.
Of course, we all join. We all are together on that, Councilwoman Reyes English. As you remember, we always had an issue. We had an issue on all the dental offices and all the nail salons that were popping up.
Yep.
And so we did something about that. So
yeah, there was a moratorium, right?
And I think actually maybe a moratorium on future car washes. I think it's called for. So thank you so much.
I said temporary. I didn't say, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's good that you clarify that because some people were probably ready to overreact or something. So, okay.
Oh,
all right.
well.
Mr. Patterson, council member.
Thank you, sir. I just want to bring up the idea of a moratorium versus having a higher level of approval required for them to come. In general, I like to shy away from just saying no to industries or to businesses, but indicate the fact that we really feel like we have enough or we have concerns about where they show up. So instead of them maybe having to go to the planning commission, maybe have to come to the council for approval.
So, are you putting that as a question or do we need?
I mean, that's just throwing out a question or suggestion as an alternative.
One of the things that we also, I think, I have a question on liquor stores. Liquor stores are a scourge on a community. It's good that we're talking about stuff. I'd rather just check right now that we're talking about something and moratoriums. Mr. City Attorney, what do we have a moratorium on right now in development in the city?
No moratoriums. We've had probably 10 moratoriums in the past dozen years, but moratoriums, as you're aware, we can have a moratorium that requires 4/5 vote, but I believe it's initially for 45 days. It has to be extended.
Okay.
We did that for development standards back in, I believe that was in 2014, 2015, but we did it just long enough so that the planning department would have an opportunity to amend the code to make it more amenable for these developments to come into the city that are suitable for the location where they're going in. And we can do the same thing for car washes as well, in conjunction with a moratorium, and that is to rethink the criteria for car washes in terms of their location near busy intersections, their locations near residential and alleyways, and maybe to concentrate them in areas such as industrial or other areas in the city.
Greg, could you work with the city attorney on taking our feedback, Greg, and just come up with some ideas?
Yes, I will, Mayor.
On how we can strengthen our code. Okay.
Sure. I also have a question for clarification. When the council is referring to car washes, there's a number of types of car washes. You'll see full service, mechanical, coin operated,
all of them,
self-service. So all of them is what you're referring to.
I received complaints on the various ones because they park their car, they're washing their cars, they're turning up the music, they're disturbing the neighborhoods. They forget that people live there, and it's like, then we hear about it. And
Sure. Okay. That's clear, Crystal. Also, just so you know, we are in the process of purchasing a sound meter so that we can start monitoring some of these noise complaints that we're receiving.
I can, in all fairness, and also if we mention this to the owners of these, they'll probably they'll do whatever they have to do to keep operating. So they'll try to mitigate these things as much as possible. We need to define certain things for them. Okay.
Sure. Yes.
All right.
Chair.
Go ahead.
In regards to Councilmember Patterson's suggestion about a higher level of approval, Greg, can you speak to the fact of if a CUP is granted by the commission on a car wash that the council would like to review, what is that process?
If the planning commission were to approve a CUP for a car wash, as it is in the code today, the city council would have the prerogative to appeal that decision to bring forward to the council for consideration.
And that exists currently in the code, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And then I think, Mayor, you had a suggestion about directing of traffic at some of these existing car washes.
At one in particular, Alan is familiar with what I'm talking about.
So, Greg, could you speak to the fact on how a CUP would need to be potentially amended for us to do that?
I think he needs to do some homework on that. He needs to brainstorm a little bit on that.
Well, I think that's my point. Is I think that I think we would have to. It's not as simple as us requiring it. We would have to actually have an actionable agreement or permit for us to be able to require that.
Yes, I need to look into this, but we would review the current conditions of approval for that site and see what modifications we could make.
And to the chair, while you're doing that, Mr. Greg, can you please review the current car wash that we're speaking on Imperial and Inglewood Avenue, what that permit reads? Want to know, okay? And bring that back for us. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so item number 34, would we like to go ahead, elected officials reports? I'm going to start off.
Chair, before we go there, I want to acknowledge a few things that was under the city manager report. Because we got this detailed, general fund source of sales tax and property tax revenue that I believe, Felice prepared. So that was very good, showing us about all the different taxes that we receive to the city, break down into detail. So that, I think that was a very good work. So I appreciate that. And also because one of our callers calling about the safe parking. And I understand that the city manager and the communication service Von Norris have met with the Caltrans and Holly Mitchell's office, right, the supervisor, to try to move forward in these Caltrans property. Can Eric, can you speak briefly on this, please?
Yes, sir. So in regards to that, I think the caller's concern is that we're saying it's going to take potentially 6 to 8 months to actually implement a safe parking program. We are working diligently with Caltrans and Metro, who's the current leasee of that site, as well as Holly Mitchell's office, to develop a program. Right now, staff is actually trying to develop a proposal for what we'd like to see there, or what we're proposing, and then we intend to take that back to Holly Mitchell's office to make sure that she is invested in that proposal. And then the next step, and probably the most significant step, is really to start outreach into the Lenox neighborhood over there, because it would directly impact that unincorporated area of the county. They want to do outreach at that. I think there's a district council meeting that happens once a month. So once we have a proposal that Holly Mitchell's office thinks is acceptable, we'll be working with the Lenox Council. Along the way, we'll definitely be working with the ad hoc that the council established of you, Councilmember Montero, and also Councilmember Reyes English, to make sure that it addresses the concerns that you have, and we'll keep the council informed as this is moving along.
All right, thank you.
All right. Elected officials reports, recommendations, city treasurer. City treasurer. Your elected officials report, sir.
I have nothing really to report for this week, and I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Okay. City Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank everyone for watching from home. I have a few updates. So in regards to COVID-19, again, even though case numbers are improving, please continue to wear your face masks because some states, unfortunately, their numbers are increasing. In regards to vaccines, if you're eligible, please go get vaccinated. If you don't know if you're eligible, you can go to vaccinatelacounty.com for more information, including appointments. On April 24th, we'll be hosting another community cleanup from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The cleanup will take place on 138th Street between Hawthorne Boulevard and Prairie Avenue. I want to thank Republic Services for supporting the event. If anyone's interested in volunteering, please email us at ggaleas@cityofhawthorne.org. I also want to take some time to thank Monica Desgrisi for our former deputy city clerk who retired after 25 years of working for our city. We did our homework. Monica's official hire date was August 24th, 1992. So I appreciate her professionalism as well as all the positive energy that she brought to her office and the endless hours she committed towards overseeing several elections. She's loved by many people at City Hall because of her wonderful spirit and charismatic personality. Monica dedicated decades of her life to the city of Good Neighbors, and her office wanted to publicly acknowledge her service. We wanted to have more of a celebration for her, but she was direct to me that she did not want us to do more, so I want to respect her wishes. But she definitely deserved the biggest party we could have thrown her. Thank you for all your service and dedication to our city, Monica. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Patterson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to first thank the community for just paying attention, logging on, calling in, making your voices heard. Definitely needed for your city to run well, for you to be involved. Outside of that, I do want to comment on the sales tax or the tax revenue report. Definitely just want to encourage everybody to take a look at it. I think it's really valuable that we have a clear understanding about where our money comes from, what industries, what type of taxes make up our tax base. Just kind of going through this, we see that 27% of our, what we call Bradley Burns revenue, our sales tax revenue, comes from general consumer, where another 20% comes from autos and transportation. So it's kind of, for me, it's valuable to understand which businesses, which industries are really contributing towards our tax base, so we can understand maybe where we need to grow, like what businesses we need to court to bring in, and also which ones that are taking care of us today, so we can make sure that they continue to stay with us. So love it. I'll be kind of diving into this a lot more, but that's it.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Montero.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, thank you for the public for the interest on the social issue that we're confronting every day, especially the homeless. Also, I want to give a shout out to Community Service Department that did the Bunny Breakfast and Earth Day and the Paper Shredder and E-Waste on March 27. It was a drive-through, so it was a very good event. And a lot of parents came with kids and celebrate the Bunny Bonanza and the Earth Day. So we thank you all the vendors that show up and also all the sponsors that gave donation that make that possible. So I want to say thank you to Vaughn and the staff and the volunteers that was there that day, okay? Again, I just want to say that, dealing with HUD is a very difficult situation that is not clear, black and white. So there is a lot of great areas that we need to be careful because as you understand, in the past, HUD came and ordered us and then we have to pay the price. So that's what things have to be done correctly. So my head goes up to Kimberly Mack and her staff, because I know some of these departments, we have a skeleton crew because not just because of the pandemic, but from the past that we let go some people or some people retire, we didn't replace them. So that is what we need to keep in mind. And also I want to ask, do we have a plan when all the staff are going to come back to the office? They're not working from home, city manager?
Sorry, I was on mute. We're working on a plan right now. Tentatively, we're looking at sometime in May. At that point, all of our workforce who would want a vaccination should have been eligible to not only receive it, but get through a 2-cycle process if they want it. And so more information to the council very soon, but that is what we're aiming to do.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because some other places, you know, they're already starting putting dates like May 1st for people to return to their office. So just keep that in mind because we need to start to go back to normal. So City Hall can be much more function because so people will not be waiting for a lot of things to happen. Again, also, I want to thank for those people, for those consultants that will submit their cannabis proposal. We appreciate the effort. So we'll be in touch sometime in May. Because, you know, the city of Hawthorne, you know, we're going to do things right and we're going to do it transparent. We're going to do it clean so everybody can be proud and make sure that this benefits our community at large. So thank you for that. So, that's it for now, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Have a good night. Those of you who's going to go.
Was it for the night or for right now?
For now.
You know how you are, man. Okay. Councilmember Reyes English.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just first of all acknowledge the community that I've heard from. I've received lots of emails in my time that I've been here, and I've been responding. At least I've tried to respond to everyone. I understand that there's still concerns regarding the dumping and the trash that we see throughout the city. I have asked the city manager to work with Republic Services, who promised us additional workforce to address those issues. More importantly, we need to be able to do it like we've been doing it in the past, which is 3 times a week to collect any bulky items. I understand that there's been marketing efforts to assure that the community is aware of the phone number to call in which to report their items, but I'd like to see that continuous on our display boards that we have in the city, that constituents can see and read where to call so that these complaints and concerns can be addressed quickly. I appreciate the workforce that we have, especially in the Public Works Department that is going out every day. I see them. I see that they're picking up trash, but I also want those responsible for their territories, agencies to address their own trash, which is the railroad. So I'd like the railroad to know that they need to clean up the trash on their railroad. I want Metro to make sure that they're cleaning up the areas in which they're responsible for, and including, you know, the bus benches for bus services coming to and from, especially the Hawthorne corridor, which is important. Addressing the concerns that we've heard with regards to loud noise from the mall, loud noise from car washes, etc. That is important to just the quality of life. And then I also want to thank those callers that continuously call us to remind us that there's more we could do for our homeless, and we're working on that. I want to see if we could ultimately work on expediting the safe parking at Metro. We have safe parking in the city of Los Angeles, and it's not a very difficult thing to do. I want to be able to erect a fence and get some assistance from the county, yes, but I want to make sure that the proposal that we're bringing to the county, especially for helping with funding, isn't held up any more than we have to. I appreciate the calls that we're getting continuously about the mall and how we're engaging with the owners of the mall. We're in discussion on issues regarding the mall. And I understand from some folks, you know, still don't know that the mall is not ours. We don't own the mall as a city. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the Charles Company. And so I just like to acknowledge the fact that you're following us and you're following items on our agenda that we've been discussing, especially special items that we've been calling for with topics surrounding the mall's future and what it could potentially be. So thank you for that. I too want to thank the city departments today, especially Kimberly in our housing efforts. I understand that, you know, it's very timely I should say, not timely, but just a very heavy task. And I understand that applications are not something that we go through quickly, that they have to be vetted out. I get that. I do appreciate hearing some of our constructive criticism to assure that we could move forward with additional staff and anything more we could do to better assist in that department, and especially the applicants that consider to continuously call the council and mayor regarding their application and the status of their requests. I understand the urgency behind that because, you know, they don't want to be evicted and they're just about there. So this is important because if they do get evicted, and then we have another issue on our hands. To the RFP that closed on Friday regarding cannabis consultants, thank you to all those that applied. Look forward to engaging and hearing more on you, and we'll be doing our thorough research. You could guarantee that on who you are and how you could potentially be instrumental to our consulting needs on cannabis. To Monica, I can't say enough. To Monica, especially, you know, Diana now, who's left alone to handle that department. Let me just say to Monica, you know, I really appreciate everything that you've done for that department, your commitment, your dedication to the department, but moreover to the city of Hawthorne. You've been instrumental. You've been a team player, and you've been great to work with. I know when I first came in 2005, I took 2 weeks off vacation just so that I could learn what was taking place in the department and how you assisted me in understanding everything. And it takes patience. And I really appreciate all your work. I do ask that the city council do a certificate of recognition in your 25 years of service so that we could present this either to you or give it to someone to take to your home. So I'd like to see a certificate of recognition from the city acknowledging Monica and her 25 years, or possibly a resolution that speaks to her years of service to the community of Hawthorne.
I concur.
Yeah.
Give a resolution, yes.
Right. But yeah, thus far, again, thank you to the callers that called in. We're listening, we hear you, and doing what we can. And I think for the most part, that should do it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Okay, so the first thing I want to mention is the need for outreach to businesses. We've heard a lot tonight about the need for outreach to those who are interested in or have a need for housing. But we also have a need to outreach to our businesses. There have been so many programs which have come through this year, and which I got wind of, and I simply had them put on the website because there was no other way I knew how to reach the businesses. And I've had so little feedback from the businesses. I don't know whether they took advantage of the programs, whether they got any, whether, and if they did, how much benefit they got from them. I feel sometimes like I'm sending things down a black hole simply because we don't know how, and we don't have a way to reach out to them any better way than the website. And I have no way of knowing whether they even see the website. So what I'm proposing as a directive is that we find a way to reach out, to do mass emails or whatever it takes, so that we can reach our businesses so that they can benefit from programs that we become aware of, so that we know who's able to take advantage of them and to what extent. So I'm asking for the city manager to work on that issue in particular, the outreach issue. How can we reach our businesses in a better way than just the website? That's the first thing. I want to piggyback on things that other council members have said about Monica. Thank you, Monica, for all the dedicated service that you have done for the city of Hawthorne. Thank you for the service to me, because I know many times there were questions that I had that she would answer. She and Diana are just super in that regard in terms of giving you personal service when you need it. So thank you for your 25 years. And thank you for decades of your dedication to Hawthorne, its residents, its council members, and its staff. retire in good health, please. Oh, one more thing. I'm going to ask my council colleagues for a special meeting on Thursday at 5:30 if they're able. The VFW has an opportunity for a grant from a federal grant. And of course, the federal government gives almost no notice at all. So they have to get the application in this week. By the time I found out about it, it was too late for tonight's meeting. So I'm asking if we could meet on Thursday at 5:30. It shouldn't take but 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but we need to be able to approve a resolution to allow the VFW in Hawthorne to get a federal grant. I would like to be able to do that for them. Is that possible, Mr. City Attorney and my colleagues?
Through the chair.
To the chair.
Yes, go ahead. Let's ask.
I have a question for Russell, actually.
Well, Russ, can you answer?
Yes, go ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem's question first.
Yes, we can do that. In fact, Mayor Pro Tem had told me before the meeting, and I said to bring it up during the council meeting to make sure that we can have a quorum Thursday at 5:30.
To the chair.
Russell, to the chair.
Yeah, Montero first, please.
Hey, Russell, we already have a special meeting scheduled tomorrow at 2. It's possible that you will not have that resolution done tomorrow?
No, in fact, I was going to tell you, I just found out just now that the consultant was not able to meet with the developer. So we're not going to have that special meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so then that special meeting tomorrow is canceled. So yeah,
Yes.
I'll concur with Ms. Valentine because Commander Roger called me also for that resolution.
To the chair.
Yes.
Mayor, thank you. With regards to grants, when we've done grants or I've done grants, they always request a letter of recommendation for the grant. It's not a resolution. So I was just kind of confused.
Well, he asked for a resolution.
Yeah, a letter from the city of Hawthorne with the mayor or the city manager's signature, just basically saying that we support the organization, is something that we've always done for grants, especially a letter of support in support of what the application that they're submitting for a grant. That's all. I was just curious.
Yeah, that sounds right. In fact, I'll call Blanca tomorrow to get more details. I didn't get the details from the VFW myself. Okay.
Are we good?
Yes.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, finish up now?
Yes, thank you.
That was it?
That's it.
Oh, is that where you're at? Okay. All right. So thank you all for all my colleagues. We've had a great meeting, and we're going to have a couple of closed sessions coming up. And all the residents who are giving their feedback on the the different issues, social issues, and their feedback on other items, and in our staff and our department heads for doing a great job of being responsive and adaptive to our concerns as a city council. So I really appreciate all our city department heads and our staff. So one of the things that you're going to find as residents on our webpage, on our social media, is our state of the city. In lieu of having an in-person state of the city, our cable TV group was able to film a state of the city in which I gave my state of the city address in video form. So you'll find that on our community website, our community cable TV Facebook website, and YouTube. And Mr. City Clerk, I believe you disseminated that to the homeowners associations, the whole different groups, so that they could get access to that. Correct?
Correct.
So I'll allow it, and we're going to be displaying that on cable TV. Is that correct, Mr. City Manager?
That is correct.
Okay, good. And there's a lot of great news. In spite of the pandemic, we were able to do a lot of great things. We were able to help the community first and help protecting them against the COVID vaccine, giving resources, help to those that are in need and those that are most vulnerable, and with testing, with vaccinations, with food, and all the different things. And like I said before, many other cities looked at us as an example of what they could do in their city. So all the major local cities that you see around, were looking to us. So we set the precedent. Just like they look at us for, you know, solutions to the homelessness issue. Of course, there's always a lot more everybody can do, but we are locally leading with our example of what we are doing. So that was something that we reported there. And then, of course, all the different departments and all their successes. And one thing that I'm proud of that's talked about in the video is how we increased our cash fund balance at the start of my administration with the help of my colleagues here. You know, we all worked together to make this happen. We raised our cash fund balance from $5 million to $38 million. That's a 700% increase in the cash fund balance. So that's something that we are very proud of, and we did that all with the teamwork that we have. So, and previously, the highest that ever was 10 million. So it fluctuated between 5 and 10 million for the previous 10 to 15 years. So when we came into, you know, over here into the fold, we were able to increase it from 5 to 38 million, 700%. So that's something great that the city council has done.
So, Mr. Mayor, just a quick point. How come you didn't give us a heads up that you were going to do a State of the City virtual? Because we could have give you some other materials to put in there, because, you know, as council members, we did a lot of stuff during the COVID to help the people out there. So
of course, everybody's credited.
Yeah, but we didn't know that you were doing a State of the City virtual.
Yeah, we filmed it.
That's not collaboration.
Well, everybody's credited. So we can always talk about that for the next years.
Thank you.
Okay, so so that's something that everybody can get access to and take a look at. Okay, so we have these closed sessions, and before we're gonna go into closed session, but we need a couple minutes break.
Yeah.
A couple minutes so that we can have restroom break, and then we can go back into these closed sessions within the next 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak on the closed sessions? Mr. City Clerk, do you have any communications?
No, we did not receive any.
On item number 35, okay. If not, I'll recess the city council meeting to conduct a closed session for a conference pursuant to the agenda. We're in recess.
Businesses and every level of government to combat climate change by getting food, green waste, and other organics out of our landfills and get more good food to the 1 in 8 Californians, including the 1 in 5 children who are food insecure. At 23 million tons, organics are by far the largest material type landfilled in California each year. Fortunately, yard, food, and other organic waste can be recycled into compost and renewable natural gas. 1383 requires new rules and regulations to achieve a 50% reduction in organic waste disposal by 2020, a 75% reduction by 2025, and actions to make sure 20% of currently disposed edible food is redirected to Californians in need. Enforcement begins once the law takes effect on January 1st, 2022. Achieving these targets demands a new approach and substantial new investments to restructure the waste management system of the world's 5th largest economy. CalRecycle began rulemaking immediately after the law's passage in 2016. Jurisdictions should start planning now to meet the law's requirements.
1383 will affect every resident and every business in the state of California. CalRecycle is here to help local governments understand and implement this new program.
Start planning now to connect large food waste generators with your local food recovery organizations to help feed hungry people where you live. Start planning now to expand organic waste collection to all homes and businesses in your area and increase your local capacity to recycle this material. Start planning now for rate changes to fund these efforts, new ordinances for mandatory recycling and enforcement, and changes to existing franchise agreements or hauler permit.
Some of this is new and some of it requires more of what you've already been doing, but all of it requires planning now to make sure programs are in place by January 1, 2022.
Recycling organic waste is an essential part of the state strategy and one of the most cost-effective ways every Californian can reduce their own greenhouse gas footprint. Together, California will create a more sustainable future, combat climate change, feed more Californians, and improve the health of our people and our planet. CalRecycle is your committed partner in this effort. Get in touch with us to learn more about available support and resources to help you succeed. And talk to your staff about strategies for the next steps for 1383 implementation.
The City of Hawthorne has revised the Hawthorne Municipal Code 12.04.031 pertaining to sidewalk repair and maintenance. The revised code places new duties and obligations on the property owners adjacent to sidewalks in conformance with the California Streets and Highways Code. The revised municipal code section can be found online at the website shown on the screen. A copy of section 12.04.031 is also available from the city clerk's office. Property owners are encouraged to consult their own legal counsel or insurance companies if they have questions about the legal impact of the new code section.
As the nation's doctor, I often get asked, what should I do if I think I might have coronavirus?
People who are sick should stay home. You don't go to an emergency room, you don't go to a clinic. You get on the phone and you ask for advice and instructions from your physician.
We don't want you to go into the ER or the doctor's office without talking to them first because you might spread coronavirus to someone else. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
New York is the canary in the coal mine. What happens to New York is going to wind up happening in your city and in your community. We are going to fight every way we can to save every life that we can. We are all first responders. Your actions can either save or endanger a life. Job one has to be save lives. That has to be the priority.
We have to stay home.
Not just to protect yourself, but to protect others.
Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. 2, arm's length. Just because you're at home
doesn't mean that we can't be alone together.
washy, wash your hands. Scrub 'em while you sing this song. Wash, washy, wash. Rub your hands and fingers and the places in between. Using soap and water makes your hands so clean. Wash your
City Council meeting is called to order. We have met in a closed session for conference pursuant to the agenda. Mr. City Attorney, your report, please.
Yes, the city council met in closed session to consider the termination of the city manager. It was unanimous that the city council voted to terminate Mr. Lee's contract with the city. And it was unanimous that the city council directed the city attorney to draft a severance release agreement to be considered at the next city council meeting with Mr. Lee. And the city council also voted unanimously to name Vaughn Norris as the interim city manager. And they also voted to designate Councilmember Montero and myself as negotiators for Mr. Norris's contract.
Okay, so now we have a second closed session. Is that item number 41? I believe so, right?
Correct.
So we have another closed session. Item number, I just want to make sure. Item number 41, is that correct, Mr. City Attorney?
I believe it's 40.
We have a second.
40, number 40.
Okay, we have a second set of closed sessions. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on these closed sessions? Mr. City Clerk?
We did not receive any comments. No.
Okay. I will now recess the city council meeting to conduct a closed session for the conference pursuant to the agenda. Mr. Eric Chavez, please make sure you allow for the consulting, the attorney to join us. We are in recess. Please join the breakout room, council members.
When you're interacting with others who are not members of your household in both public and private spaces, wear a cloth face covering. Before you put it on, wash your hands or sanitize them. Before you take it off, make sure your hands are clean. And after you take it off, wash your hands again. Wash your cloth face coverings often. Wear a clean one every single day. Learn more at publichealth.lacounty.gov.
Hello, I'm Gloria Gray, President of the West Basin Municipal Water District Board, where we take pride in delivering safe, reliable water to our communities.
According to the CDC, coronavirus is not transmitted through water.
West Basin works diligently to protect the quality and reliability of the water supply. On behalf of the West Basin Board of Directors, we hope you and your family are staying safe and healthy.
For more information, visit westbasin.org.
Even though California is flourishing in many ways, we are also facing greater challenges than ever due to climate change. Cyclical droughts, intense fire seasons, and pollution endangers human health and the environment. In California, we're doing something about it.
Governor Jerry Brown today signed a bill regulating emissions from landfills to fight climate change.
The Organics Law calls on the state's 40 million residents, its businesses, and every level of government to combat climate change by getting food, green waste, and other organics out of our landfills and get more good food to the 1 in 8 Californians, including the 1 in 5 children who are food insecure. At 23 million tons, organics are by far the largest material type landfilled in California each year. Fortunately, yard, food, and other organic waste can be recycled into compost and renewable natural gas. 1383 requires new rules and regulations to achieve a 50% reduction in organic waste disposal by 2020, a 75% reduction by 2025, and actions to make sure 20% of currently disposed edible food is redirected to Californians in need. Enforcement begins once the law takes effect on January 1st, 2022. Achieving these targets demands a new approach and substantial new investments to restructure the waste management system of the world's 5th largest economy. CalRecycle began rulemaking immediately after the law's passage in 2016. Jurisdictions should start planning now to meet the law's requirements.
1383 will affect every resident and every business in the state of California. CalRecycle is here to help local governments understand and implement this new program.
Start planning now to connect large food waste generators with your local food recovery organizations to help feed hungry people where you live. Start planning now to expand organic waste collection to all homes and businesses in your area and increase your local capacity to recycle this material. Start planning now for rate changes to fund these efforts, new ordinances for mandatory recycling and enforcement, and changes to existing franchise agreements or hauler permit.
Some of this is new and some of it requires more of what you've already been doing, but all of it requires planning now to make sure programs are in place by January 1, 2022.
Recycling organic waste is an essential part of the state strategy and one of the most cost-effective ways every Californian can reduce their own greenhouse gas footprint. Together, California will create a more sustainable future, combat climate change, feed more Californians, and improve the health of our people and our planet. CalRecycle is your committed partner in this effort. Get in touch with us to learn more about available support and resources to help you succeed. And talk to your staff about strategies for the next steps for 1383 implementation.
The City of Hawthorne has revised the Hawthorne Municipal Code 12.04.031 pertaining to sidewalk repair and maintenance. The revised code places new duties and obligations on the property owners adjacent to sidewalks in conformance with the California Streets and Highways Code. The revised municipal code section can be found online at the website shown on the screen. A copy of section 12.04.031 is also available from the city clerk's office. Property owners are encouraged to consult their own legal counsel or insurance companies if they have questions about the legal impact of the new code section.
As the nation's doctor, I often get asked, what should I do if I think I might have coronavirus?
People who are sick should stay home. You don't go to an emergency room, you don't go to a clinic. You get on the phone and you ask for advice and instructions from your physician.
We don't want you to go into the ER or the doctor's office without talking to them first because you might spread coronavirus to someone else. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
New York is the canary in the coal mine. What happens to New York is going to wind up happening in your city and in your community. We are going to fight every way we can to save every life that we can. We are all first responders. Your actions can either save or endanger a life. Job one has to be save lives. That has to be the priority.
You have to stay home.
Not just to protect yourself, but to protect others.
Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. 2, arm's length. Just because you're at home
doesn't mean that we can't be alone together.
Together.
And we met in closed session. And Mr. Ewing, can you report out, please?
Thank you. Through the chair and Mayor Vargas, special counsel met with the city council in closed session on agenda items 40 through 44. Two motions occurred. The first motion was a motion by Councilmember Patterson, and that motion was to terminate the contract of City Attorney Russell Miyahira. That motion was seconded by Councilmember English. The vote on that motion was as follows. 3 votes aye from Councilmember Patterson, Councilmember English, and Councilmember Montero. 2 no aye votes from Mayor Vargas and Mayor Pro Tem Valentine. There was a second motion. That was a motion to appoint the law firm of Alvarez, Glassman, and Colvin with senior partner Vincent Ewing serving as interim city attorney. The second of that motion was made by Councilmember Patterson. The second was Councilmember English. The votes were as follows. 3 aye votes, Councilmember Patterson, Councilmember English, and Councilmember Montero. The no votes were Mayor Vargas and Mayor Pro Tem Valentine.
Sir, can you restate who the interim city attorneys will be? Can you restate that?
Sure. The motion was to appoint as interim city attorney the law firm of Alvarez, Glassman, and Colvin with senior partner Vincent Ewing serving as interim city attorney.
Okay. Thank you very much for clarifying that.
Yes.
Okay, if there's nothing further from city council, meeting's adjourned.